Are weekends ruining your progress? I see this time and time again. Clients will absolutely nail it throughout the week, then come the weekend, everything's just totally undone. So, how do we keep progressing through the weekend? How do we make sure that we are entering the following week with a rejuvenated mindset? We have goals to hit, we feel excited, we feel motivated without totally derailing everything from the past week, okay? How do we do that? First things first, I want to talk about something called structure. Now, something we're all familiar with. Structure is essentially our day-to-day lives. We have routines in place. Now, do routines help us get things done? Absolutely. But they can also bite us in the butt. If our routine is filled with deadlines and it's almost forced structure, which is something I'm going to talk about in a second. It's forced upon us. It's deadlines, it's meetings, we have to be at certain places, we have to do certain things. We have no option but to get it done. But what happens when we have all this freedom? Typically our willpower is so drained that we don't even want to do what we actually want to do. We don't want to work out, we don't want to meal prep, we don't want to think about anything. We just want to lay there and just sleep or drink to forget. So how do we overcome this? How do we make sure that we don't totally undo the first 5 days of us being on it? I want to talk about structure first, okay? So most people will achieve what they've achieved during the week because it's forced upon them. They meal prep, they plan their meal for the day, they take their lunch into work. They have no other option but to eat that, okay? They work out in the morning because they have no other option to work out at any other time of the day. If they don't work out first thing in the morning before work, then they're not going to work out. So they get up, they get it done, they eat their meal, they come home, they have their dinner, they go to bed, they do it the same thing the next day. Now all of a sudden, the weekend comes and it's a total free-for-all. They don't have to be at work by 8. They can make their lunch at home. Then they're going to go out drinking with their buddies, and it's just there's no structure. So we've gone from a ton of rigidity to a free-for-all. And we need to find some sort of balance between the two. I want you to start viewing your weekends as movement days, okay? Rather than thinking, oh crap, I've got 2 days off, I'm so excited, I can just do nothing. I've worked hard during the week, I'm totally shattered, I'm just going to do nothing. I want you to start viewing these as movement days. You have 2 days, 2 whole days, where you can do what you want. And if you're serious about your goals, view these days as you can get amazing workouts in, you can eat very nutritious foods, you can take time with your meals, you can go for walks, you can get outside, you can spend time with friends socializing, you can go for coffee with a friend, you can read a book, you can write a book, you can do whatever you want. But too many of us are so burnt out from the week that come the weekend, we don't want to do anything. And that's where you may have to actually switch your focus and start assessing your week. Now, this may be uncomfortable because I know, all of us have to work. We have bills to pay. A lot of you guys have kids. There's people relying on us, so we have no option but to do certain things. But guarantee there'll be points in your week where you are wasting time. There'll be points where you are maybe just scrolling through social media to get that instant kick of dopamine. Maybe it's the time you're spending binge watching episodes on Netflix in the evenings. So there'll be times throughout your week where you are just wasting time. So I want you to assess that. And there are other things throughout the week where you could be spending time, and I'm not saying going and working out, I may be saying actually resting, rejuvenating, doing something that actually calms your nervous system from the day. What this will do, this will avoid burnout. If you're continuously on that path of go, 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 your cortisol levels are skyrocketing throughout the week, you are going to this will lead to burnout. You will experience burnout. And trust me, I've been there, it sucks. And it takes time to recover from this. Burnout essentially is when you just can't go anymore. When you've reached that point of, I just can't do it. Your health is plummeting. Your motivation is just non-existent. The discipline, the drive to be disciplined is not there. Your health is taking a hit. Your mental, your emotional, your spiritual, everything is just plummeting. It just seems like you just can't do anything anymore. Nothing excites you. We do not want to go there. We want to avoid that as much as possible. So that's why I want to circle back, and you have to use your weekends to your advantage. Okay, it's your time to be filled up. However, you have to have time throughout the week to fill up too. If you're constantly pouring out, you're going to be an empty bucket. You got to bring things in. Okay, how are you filling your bucket? When you're assessing your week, you may have to ask yourself these deeper questions. When you're those Monday through Fridays, if you're finding come Tuesday time you're desperate for the weekend, then you do have to assess where you're at in life. And I know that sounds quite deep, and it is deep, but if you're having so much unfulfillment in your life, in your job, then maybe you're not supposed to be in that role. Maybe you are supposed to be somewhere else. I do not believe that we are meant to live lives of unhappiness, of unfulfillment, of just deadlines and duties. It's not supposed to be like that. So maybe it is time for a switch. Maybe you have lack of guidance when it comes to your health and nutrition. Maybe you're trying your best, but you're just not seeing the results. Maybe you need guidance. You need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Maybe it's you need to find your why. Too many of us, have these goals of I want to lose X amount of pounds, or I want to do this. But there's always a deeper reason for something for that. And I'm not going to go too much into it. I do have an episode on that. It was my first ever episode. It was on finding your why, so make sure you listen to that. But you've got to find the deeper reason as to why you're doing what you're doing. And that's not just with your health and fitness goals, that's with everything. That is with your career, it's with your spouse, it's with everything you're doing in life. Why do you do what you do? And sit with this question, because trust me, you're going to come up with the answers that you didn't even know were there. Last thing I'm going to leave you with, and then we're going to move on to the next section, is this worth it? Is everything that you're doing that Monday through Friday, then sabotaging on the weekend, is it really worth it? Now, sometimes we do have to reach rock bottom to actually start working ourselves up, and that's okay. It's uncomfortable, it sucks, I get it. But what it does, it forces us to take a look at things. It forces us to be like, okay, this is just not working for me, or this just really is not worth it. I need to change. I need to do something. And then you can start actually figuring out what it is you need to do so you can start progressing. Now, this is a health and fitness podcast, so I am obviously structuring it more towards your health and fitness goals. However, I think you know by now, if you've listened to some of my episodes, I am very much about the mindset too. So if your mind isn't ready, if you are feeling that unfulfillment, then it's probably not worth it, okay? Okay, moving on to the next section. What I'm noticing with my clients is most people through Monday to Friday are, as a result of this rigid structure they have, is they're too rigid with their lives, with their nutrition, for starters. They're consuming too little throughout the week, which inevitably will lead to overeating on the weekends. It can also lead to binging on the weekends, and that can be through food, it can be through alcohol, it can be through anything really. Maybe it's, binging a TV show complemented with, a whole bag of peanut butter M&Ms. But most of clients, what they do is Monday through Friday, they're overly rigid with their structure, with their nutrition. They're like, I'm going to start Monday and I'm going to nail it. And they do a very good job, but they do too much. And what this happens is the rebound effect. And come the weekend, they overeat, they've had all this lack of sleep throughout the week, and they've got to catch up on their sleep, they're tired, they're exhausted, and they just want total comfort food, they just want to sit and do nothing. They almost view their weekends as a time to escape. And trust me, I have been there. I recall Monday through Friday, I would be totally on it with my nutrition, I'd be totally on it with my workouts, and when I was playing professional golf at the time, I'd be totally on it with my practice. Come the weekend, I wanted an escape. So I would go out and I would party flipping hard, sometimes all weekend. And then Sundays I would just do absolutely nothing, and then Monday mornings I would just get back to it. So trust me, I've been there. But it's not a good cycle to be in, because you're just undoing everything. You're just going round and round in circles, and all it's doing is just causing mental frustration, anxiety, and just you feel unworthy. It's not a good feeling. So we need to break this cycle. So how do we break this cycle? The first thing I want you to do is assess your days and assess every single day. So it's Monday through Friday and also the Saturdays and Sundays. You've probably heard of the work-life balance. And this is something I've been assessing a lot recently in my life. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like work-life balance because it feels like it's totally separate. And what I'm learning is that my life isn't separate between my work life, my personal life. Yes, there are just certain things that, they don't kind of intertwine, but I'm still me in all of them. So there's definitely crossovers with every aspect of my life. So it's not so much how do we achieve work-life balance, it's how do we achieve life balance. And this happens to involve everything: your emotional health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your career, your professionalism, everything. So it's how do we find that life balance? And you may find listening to this that your life balance is totally out of whack, and that's okay. Your Monday through Fridays are just total chaos, and then your Saturdays and Sundays are a different type of chaos. So how do we achieve that life balance? And this takes some assessment. You have to sit with it, really assess with it. It does help if you have someone you can talk this through, someone, maybe a spouse, that can talk you through this. And maybe you have to sit down together and really think, okay, how do we achieve more life balance where we're not, praying for the weekend to come quicker come Tuesday. Okay, trust me, I've been there, it sucks. Maybe your expectations need to be reevaluated. And I love when clients come in, they're highly motivated and they've got these big goals that almost seems impossible. I love that. I thrive off that. But sometimes our expectations can be too high. What I mean by this is sometimes we expect too much of ourselves in too little time. And time is one of the biggest things that I see. People want to lose the 30 pounds in 30 days, and it's unrealistic. Not saying it's not a great goal, but it is unrealistic. Maybe we stretch that to 30 pounds in, depending on the client, maybe a couple of months. But within all that, it's not just about the scale weight, it's about learning how to shift your mind towards, the self-discipline, the actions, the behavioural change, learning about macros, learning about training, learning about a disciplined mind, learning about showing up for yourself every single day, learning to put the bad days behind you and learning from them. So it's not just about kind of lose 30 pounds in 30 days, it's the entire journey itself. So it's not so much your expectations aren't invalid, it might just be they're set on the wrong things and they're too high on the wrong things too, so you might want to reevaluate your expectations. The next thing is to plan and schedule. Now, you've heard me say this before, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. And it's so true. No matter how good our intentions are, if we don't have a plan or a schedule or something to kind of refer back to of this is what I'm shooting for, how do I get there, these are the steps, then how are we going to get there? It's like having a destination but no map, no GPS. So make sure you have some sort of plan towards your destination. When are you going to work out? How are your workouts looking? What is your program? How long are you going to do it for? What are you going to eat? What are your calories? What are your macros? What's your sleep time? How's your stress levels? When are you going to spend time with your family? When are you going to spend time for yourself? So having some sort of plan and schedule, but also allowing for that free time too. We're not supposed to live in a rigid lifestyle. We are supposed to have a life of some sort of spontaneity. That's a big word for me. I have no idea how to spell that word, so thank goodness it's a podcast and not a blog. But some sort of spontaneity in our life. We're not meant to live a life of rigidity, okay? Last thing is use your time efficiently. I hate to say this to you, but you are going to die. You're going to die one day. That is one thing I can guarantee. And how you use your time before that time comes is up to you. You have a choice right now. Right this instant. Once this episode is done, you have a choice of what you can do. You can put this episode, you can finish it and be like, that was cool. I'm just going to move on with my life. Or you can act now. You can do something. You can sit with the uncomfortable feeling of, holy crap, Megan is right. I do waste my time but I'm going to do something about it. I always say step 1 is awareness. Step 2 is doing something, taking action. So use your time efficiently, and when it comes to your weekends, just remember that is 48 hours of time that you can put towards yourself, your purpose, your goals, whatever it is you're trying to achieve. You can achieve a lot in 2 days. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. The more people we bring into the circle, the more it's going to grow. I have an ambition of reaching thousands, if not millions, of people around the world. So please help me achieve that. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next week.